Hi everyone, welcome to Ask Wardee. This is episode 45. I'm so glad you're with me to talk today about still eating healthy when you're on a budget. This money is hard-earned, hard-won for all of us, no matter what our occupation is, and we want it to go as far as possible. And in particular, I'm answering a question from Debbie today, who wrote in that she and her family are trying to pay off their debt. And so where they might have money to spend on real food or healthy food, they're trying to put as much as they can toward paying off the debt. And so that makes still eating on a budget hard for them. Still eating healthy on a budget hard for them. So I'm going to be sharing tips on that. So here's a couple housekeeping notes. Welcome to live viewers. I'm so happy you're with me. Whether you're here with me live or you're checking this out later through the video or through the podcast replay, the show notes are ready for you. tradcookschool.com/AW045. That's for episode 45, and the AW is for Ask Wardee. Also, if you're on Facebook Live, as soon as I'm done here, I will edit the description above this video to include that link for you. Or if somebody would be so kind as to type that in the comments, tradcookschool.com/AW045. You don't have to go there, but everything that I'm going to share today, I have a number of tips to share. Everything I'm going to share today is already typed up and ready there for you. And my computer just went to screensaver, so I was losing my notes there. Okay, so that's all the housekeeping notes. Now let's get to Debbie's question. So Debbie wrote in and said, I've read Nourishing Traditions. My biggest issue is that right now we simply cannot afford to eat pastured butter and pastured meat all the time. We do buy pastured meat when it's on sale. However, if we can't get it on sale, we just can't swing it. We have started cooking our foods in butter, chicken fat, and coconut oil. I also cook down our chicken bones and have broth semi-regularly. What would you suggest to a family trying to get out of debt but still wanting to eat healthfully? So that's the situation. Debbie's family is trying to get out of debt and still wanting to eat healthfully. And let me just take a quick poll here. If you're on Facebook or Periscope, you can either leave a comment or hearts if you're on Periscope, but just tell me, can you relate to Debbie, either with the wanting to eat healthy on a budget part or trying to get out of debt and the money's even tighter because of that? Just let me know. I'm seeing lots of hearts on Periscope. We all have lots of reasons for wanting to keep our budget tight. There may be special needs, medical bills. We're getting lots of yeses, getting out of debt. Just the money doesn't go very far. So this is a really important issue, whether or not you're trying to get out of debt. So I'm sad, but glad to hear that this is relevant information for a lot of you. So I do have good news for you. I'm getting yes, both. Yeah, money is tight because we're retired. All right, so I hope this is helpful. And as I'm talking, you can share your tips in the comments. The other thing is if you visit the show notes, tradcookschool.com/AW045, either after the fact or now, you can add your tips in the comments there. All right, so the good news is it is possible to eat healthy on a budget. This isn't going to be the same answer for everyone. The tips I'm going to be sharing today may or may not be relevant. You may already be doing them, or there may be some new things for you to try or to get a little better at. So I'm not expecting to change your budget overnight or expecting to make it completely doable overnight. Something you want to work at and chip away at and take what works for you. And as I'm getting a comment now, it's also very hard even to find some things. Yes, depending on where in the world you live, geographically, you have different things available to you. Your local, food situation could be very different. So take what works and please share your tips. All right. I look forward to hearing from you. I do want to say two things to encourage you, and this is before we get into the actual tips. First is, this is something that I hear a lot, or I see a lot, I pick up on a lot, which I think we have a tendency to feel guilty about spending money on real food. So I just want to encourage everybody, don't feel guilty about it. Just because your very frugal neighbor clips coupons and her grocery budget is only $35 a week doesn't mean you have to feel guilty for spending more money on food. We have different priorities, and that's not to knock anybody, but if having better quality food is important to you and your family for your quality of life and your future goals and your health needs, then lose the guilt. Don't feel bad that you're not clipping coupons and not, pinching as many pennies as your $35 a week grocery budget neighbor. Okay? I also think our convenience food society has cheapened the value of food to the point where this incurs the guilt. I mean, you have the coupon clipping neighbor, but you also have the industrialized food system and convenience foods and fast food restaurants and, you know, all those processed box foods. And it just conveys this message that food doesn't matter. You know, things and houses and all kinds of things matter more than the food we eat. Well, we want to tip that on its head, and we want to say that no, the food we eat is important and it's worth, you know, spending what we can spend on it. The second point I want to make before we get to the tips is just keep in mind, and I know a lot of you are not in this situation. If you're part of traditional cooking school or this real food movement, then you've already changed your thinking about this, or you've seen the light. But I want to point it out because I think it's really important to say that even though conventional food may be cheaper in the short term, it's not as cheap in the long term. It's not as cheap as most people think, because there's a lot of problems that come along with eating poorly, and they come in the future and they have a high cost. So poor health, doctor bills, prescription medicines, lack of productivity, a low quality of life. Now, some of these things cost money, some of them cost happiness, but they all cost. So yeah, you know, our society spends not very much money on food and they think it's so cheap. But the bill comes later for those choices. Okay? I'm glad you guys agree with me. The reason I'm mentioning these two things, one is don't feel guilty about prioritizing real food in your life and your budget, and number two, to recognize that cheap food comes with a cost later, is because we all need to make sure that we're not cutting corners in our budget now that we don't need to cut, only to pay the price later. You want to keep the long-term view in mind so that the choices you make right now are the absolute best, even considering things that may come down the line later. Now, Debbie has said she's trying to get out of debt, which is fabulous. We're answering Debbie's question today. I want to suggest something that you can take or leave, and I haven't gotten to the tips yet, but just want to plant a little bit of a seed here, that if you feel like you're sacrificing some things that are important to you in terms of the food you would buy, if you could, consider if it's possible to shuffle some of that money you're allocating to pay off debt to just a slightly larger food budget. If you can't, you can't. I'm just going to toss that out there. If it's a possibility to shuffle just some of that money. So it's just an idea to suggest, not saying it's right or wrong. It's for you to decide. And even if you can't, we have a number of tips today to share to help you, Debbie, and all the listeners, to help you eat healthy while on your tighter, get out of debt budget, or just plain tight budget, because the money has to go far. So tip number one for you is make instead of buy. Now, Debbie, it sounds like you're already doing these things, and I know a lot of our listeners are, so if this is repeat information, it's repeat information, but it's worth saying. And maybe, just maybe, you'll realize as I give you a list here of things that you can make instead of buy, a light bulb might go off and you say, oh, I could do that too. I'm sorry, I'm getting feedback that Periscope is quiet, and I really can't account for that because I have my microphone plugged in right here. So I'm sorry about that. Perhaps turn the sound on at your end. So there are foods that you can make instead of buy that will save you a bunch of money. And here's the long list. By the way, we have a recipe database at Traditional Cooking School. You go to traditionalcookingschool.com/recipes to get a lot of these, or you might find them inside our membership. There's bread, crackers, jerky, fermented foods like sauerkraut. You can make your own herbal coffee in case you're buying a coffee substitute. You can make your own soap, your own toiletries like deodorant and toothpaste, tomato sauce, jams, jellies, dried fruits, trail mix, granola bars, protein bars, cereals, yogurt, mayo, desserts, broth. Debbie's already making broth, she said. But those foods, not all of them, but quite a few of them tend to be foods that we as a society purchase. Well, the cost per ounce or the cost per pound is way higher if you purchase it made than if you make it yourself. If you're interested in an herbal coffee recipe, there's a great book I recommend, tradcookschool.com/herbal coffee. If you're interested in making your own homemade yogurt, I have a great yogurt recipe, tradcookschool.com/free yogurt. I also have at traditionalcookingschool.com a video and a recipe for making your own homemade mayo. So again, traditionalcookingschool.com/recipes for all the database. And the free yogurt recipe is at tradcookschool.com/free yogurt. Tip number 2. This is something you're going to chip away at a little bit at a time, okay? Because you only have a certain amount of this allocated for food each month, right? Well, every month, take a little bit of that and allocate it to bulk purchases. The reason is that bulk purchases of the foods that you would be, eating anyway, you're going to pay a cheaper price per pound. You don't need to buy everything all at once in bulk, but you're just going to do a few, maybe even just one thing like a bucket of coconut oil or one bigger bag of beans or flour. But you're going to do whatever you can, allocate a small amount of your budget. Okay, I shouldn't say small. Allocate whatever you feel you can every month to bulk purchases, so over time you can accumulate those savings. Here are foods you can buy in bulk. You can do whole half a beef or lamb or pig or whatever pastured meat. You can do bulk pantry items like coconut oil, grains, beans. You can do seasonal fruits or veggies. The idea here again is that you're doing some bulk purchases every month, and then those go into the pantry. You eat off them for a few months, and you're going to pay a cheaper price per pound. So some of your budget every month will go toward getting more food than usual. Okay? Linda is saying, I raised 12 children. Bulk is the way to go. Yes. By the way, at traditionalcookingschool.com, we have a post, 14 ways to feed a large family on a small budget. So go and search for that if you do have a large family, because there will be even more tips there that relate to you if you have a large family. Tip number 3, watch sales. And Debbie has said she's already doing this because she goes to her local health food store and she buys pastured meats when they're on sale. Well, I'm going to suggest some other places. There are farm stands that may be clearing out seasonal produce, or instead of a health food store, maybe you have a grass-fed beef farmer or a pastured poultry producer in your area and you go direct to them, so your prices are better than even buying it on sale at a health food store. Also, your local meat producers may have bones or organs that you can purchase at a discount. I even put Costco, if you have Costco in your area and you're a careful shopper, I even put this in the sale category. The reason being, well, first there's a caveat, which is you have to be careful because it's easy to spend more than you intended when you come out. So you have to, be very choosy, go in with a shopping list and don't deviate from it. But you might consider their foods as sales. Or you might consider theirs as the previous tip, which is bulk purchases, because you're getting a large quantity, but you have to buy the things that you would be buying in smaller quantities, but you're going to get a bulk price and a lower price per pound. For instance, in our area, the 2 dozen organic egg carton is a fantastic price, or the or frozen organic berries, the tubs of organic salad greens, those are all fantastic prices. So I get those there at Costco. Also online, there are certain online suppliers that I would consider in the sale and or bulk category. And you get on their mailing list and they periodically have coupons, discounts. One of those is Vital Choice, which in our family's opinion has the best wild salmon. Other than if you went to Alaska and caught it yourself. And we do have friends who do that and we get a little bit of theirs every year. But if you are purchasing salmon, Vital Choice, tradcookschool.com/Vital Choice is a link, you can check it out. But the reason I'm telling you about it is periodically, if you're on their mailing list, they'll email you or send you a coupon code, and you can get 10 to 15 to 20% off their boxes of 24 cans of wild salmon. And yes, they are more expensive, someone's pointing out, but the point here is if that wild salmon is a part of a food you want to eat and you want to include it in your diet semi-regularly, like once a month or once a week, whatever you've chosen, that if you could use some of your money that you've allocated to bulk purchases and combine it with their discount sales, and you're going to save a ton. And that's how I stock up on wild salmon once or twice a year, is I use their discount code. Tip number 4, choose the cheaper form. Let me give you the examples. It'll probably explain it and tell you what I mean here. So protein. If eggs for you in your area are the cheapest form of protein, eat lots of eggs. If organic chicken is cheaper than pastured beef, eat chicken and make sure you eat the whole thing to make it go as far as possible to the broth. Milk. If you're buying raw milk, maybe and you're drinking some of it and you're culturing some of it, maybe consider buying a lower quality milk for your culturing, because when you culture, you make milk better. So that may cut into your raw milk expenditure. And again, I'm not advocating, I'm not saying, I think you guys know what I mean. I'm trying to help you come up with ideas to make conscious choices about where you will and won't spend your money. So I'm giving you options. I'm not saying that, if it's an ideal world and you had enough to spend on raw milk that you would go and buy a lower quality of milk. No, you would, if you could, you would do all your dairy with raw milk. But let's say you can't. Then, well, use a lower quality milk for your culturing. That's what I'm suggesting as an option to consider. If you're making your own mayo, which, number one, your mayonnaise, if you make it yourself, is going to be less expensive than if you purchase. It's also way better for you. And in my opinion, it's easier to make your own than to add it to a shopping list and wait and go to the store and deal with the store. But anyway, in your mayo, use less expensive oils and more delicious. Exactly. Use less expensive oils. So my favorite oil to use in mayo is avocado oil, but it's so expensive. So what I do is I use a bit of avocado oil, like 1/4 avocado oil, and the rest of the recipe I'll use olive oil or expeller pressed grapeseed oil. Now your baking or cooking fat, what is least expensive for you in your area? That's quality. So is it butter or coconut oil? Or Debbie mentioned chicken fat. She's using chicken fat. We'll use whatever is the cheapest. And again, Debbie, it sounds like you're already doing this. So that was tip number 4, to use the cheaper form. You could probably come up with more examples and more ways to do this. It was just some ideas for you. Tip number 5, do without. Do you know if you do without, you save all kinds of money? I'm totally going through this right now because we are in the middle of a move and we've been in our current home for more than 10 years. And I'm sorting through 10 years of stuff, and I'm not necessarily talking about food here. I'm talking about possessions, and I'm thinking, oh, man, we've wasted so much because thought we needed this and we didn't, or anyway. So do without. I have personally committed myself, if there's something that I want to purchase, I'm going to wait a couple weeks and see if I really need it. If I really can't live without it, or maybe even longer than a couple weeks. But the idea here is you're going to save elsewhere in your budget so you have more available for your quality food. Now, I know maybe in your case, Debbie, that if you do without in places in your budget, you might want to allocate that to paying off your debt. Well, maybe some of it can go to debt and some of it could increase your food budget a little bit. Just an idea for you. And Terry is mentioning on Facebook a good comment that is not one of my tips, so I'm just going to say it here, throw it in here. Terry says, if you can't do organic, still do whole foods. Just choosing whole foods over processed foods right off the bat saves you money. You can also look at the Dirty Dozen list on the Environmental Working Group to see which, if you're talking about fruits and vegetables, which are the most contaminated with pesticides if purchased conventionally, and just make sure don't buy those conventional. But the others you may choose to buy conventional. So to keep explaining this, so do without, you're going to save elsewhere in your budget so you have more available for quality food. Here are some places that you could consider cutting back. Maybe you've already done this, Debbie, but I'll still go through with it. Eating out, entertainment, which includes, in this day and age, remember when growing up we had to go to Blockbuster and bring a DVD home, or VHS tapes. Well, today you can go to Amazon and you can just click a button and rent a movie for $5.99. Well, how many movies are we renting that are so easy off the internet? It's so easy and it takes so much less effort that maybe most people tend to do it more than they ever did. I don't know, but that's one place you could do without. Extra trips to town. You'll save on gas if you combine all your shopping trips into one day a week or once every other week. You also, those impulse trips, you tend to spend more and buy things that maybe you'd regret later. So if you just consolidate your trips and you make less trips into town, you're going to save on gas and you will probably spend less money overall on stuff. You'll spend less money like, I'm really hungry, let's go through Subway. You'll spend less money on, you forgot to pack a water bottle, and so you're at a store, and so you spend $1 or $2 on a water bottle. You see what I mean? If you're not out, you don't have that just incidental expenses that eat into your budget. So stay home more. Buy used instead of new. So whatever purchases you're making for your family, look on Craigslist or eBay or see if you can find it used. And if you're in a state that charges sales tax, you also won't be paying sales tax, I don't think, in addition to just saving money on the purchase because it's purchased used. Another thing is don't use paper or plastic plastic products. So choose reusables like cloth or metal or glass, depending on the use. Instead of disposable water bottles, you can use mason jars. We have a tutorial on traditionalcookingschool.com for a DIY. It's where you can drill a hole and put a grommet in a canning jar lid and insert a straw. So you can make your own mason jar drinking cup. Very, very cheap. So you could do that instead of disposable water bottles. And that'll save a ton of money, like over buying stainless steel water bottles, for instance. Cloth napkins, like you could watch, we do this. I watch for sales at the fabric store, and that's when I buy the linen that I use to make my own cloth napkins. And we have a basket, and they're pretty colors, and I love washing them and folding them and setting them out because I just use a bunch of different colors, and there's no like nothing to throw away, and you just wash. Anyway, so see if you can cut back on disposable items, whatever they are. If you've got children in diapers, cloth diapers over disposables. Tip number 6. We are at tip number 6. This is the last one I have to share with you. I think this is a longer Ask Wardee than usual. Batch cooking. If you batch cook and you freeze for later, your family is less likely to eat out or turn to convenience foods, which is going to save you money. And also this is going to save you time. Batch cooking saves you time. I'm not going to go into this too much now because I have an online event I want to invite you to this weekend that will introduce you to the concept of batch cooking. And we're going to feature the slow cooker or the Instant Pot. Your question is really timely with this event, Debbie. So I want to invite you and everybody else here to join me. And I'm partnering up with Once a Month Meals for it's called a September Virtual Cooking Weekend. And it's happening this weekend, and there's 3 different parts to it. So there's a giveaway, and I will edit the post above plus the show notes. tradcookschool.com/AW045 also already has links to these, but on Facebook I'll edit the post above when I disconnect here with these links if you'd like to go there. So there's a giveaway of an Instant Pot, a membership to Once a Month Meals, 6 copies of my pressure cooking ebook package, and the link to that is tradcookschool.com/PC giveaway. We have a live cooking event on Facebook, and you do need to at least RSVP to that in order to enter the giveaway. So a link to the Facebook event is tradcookschool.com/cooking weekend FB, all one word. And the third part of this, virtual cooking weekend is a mini menu featuring traditional cooking school recipes. And I will be on Facebook Live on Saturday on the Once a Month Meals page, walking you through doing some batch cooking with a slow cooker / Instant Pot. So I'd love you to grab the recipes, and you go to tradcookschool.com/TCS mini menu, which is all one word. Again, these links will be ready for you at the show notes. But you go there. The recipes are free that we'll be cooking through, so you can download the recipes. What you do when you go to that link is you click Cook This Menu, and then you'll go to a page where you find all the parts of the menu. Now, the recipes are free, and that's what we'll be cooking along. If you want the additional things like the prep and the shopping list and whatever that Once a Month Meals has put together into a mini menu package, then you do need to be a member of once a month meals. But you can cook along even with the recipes. So go ahead and do that. And then what you want to do is RSVP to the Facebook event so that when I go live, you'll be notified, and we will do some cooking together this Saturday. So coming up. So hopefully you're checking out this Ask Wardee now and in the next few days when the replay is up so that you can join in on the fun. It'll be really fun. I look forward to seeing you all there. Okay, so I think that's it. We'll just do a quick wrap up here. With eating healthy on a budget, the tips were to make instead of buy, allocate money each month to bulk purchases, watch sales, choose the cheaper form, do without, which we could all do more of, and batch cooking. And to tell you more about batch cooking, be sure to check out the virtual cooking weekend coming up soon. Check out the links at the show notes, tradcookschool.com/AW045. And I see a lot of you are already planning to attend the event. All right, well, God bless you all. Thanks so much for coming to Ask Wardee. You can submit a question to future episodes by using my hashtag AskWardee and tweeting me at TradCookSchool. You can also send an email to Wardee, WARDEE, at askwardee.tv. Thank you all so much. God bless you. Bye-bye.